Hello from Trinity Lutheran Church. This week we are looking at words that have to do with healing. And our next word is lifted. The cross is the symbol of Christ in the church. The cross was a cruel tool used to bring death, and yet it was used by God to bring healing. Most of us, when looking at the cross, think of Jesus being lifted to pay for our sins. We envision this debt being paid to Satan or to God's own self. Still, many reject or have trouble with the logic behind this thinking, and this can have a negative effect on their ability to believe in the gospel. But there are other ways to think about the sacrifice of Christ. As he is lifted upon the cross, we see the rejection of Jesus. We see the rejection of the way of God. We see human power rising up against the proclamation of a kingdom of love, a kingdom where all people are considered worthy of love, a kingdom where all would be cared for out of God's goodness, a kingdom where God's presence is actually felt. For that is what Jesus brought to the people, the presence of God. By feeding, healing, teaching, and loving all people, by touching and caring for the ill and disenfranchised, by standing up for the humanity and worth of women and children, Jesus proclaimed a kingdom where the rule of human power and greed were usurped by the love and purpose of God. The cross is the rejection of God's rule, the pushback of the powers that be, the reassertion of human will against the will of God. And Jesus goes to the cross willingly. He basically says, fine, if that is the way you want it, I will not raise a hand to stop you. And he is lifted up. What no one expected, of course, was Sunday morning, when Mary would go to the garden, find an empty tomb, and turn to find him there. No one expected he would be lifted again, and that in this we would be healed. The triumph of the cross is that in weakness God's power is revealed, and the way of Jesus is upheld as the way of God. We are lifted with Jesus and find in his way the way of salvation, a way that triumphs, lifts us up, even over death. Often when we need healing of some kind, we need to be lifted above the fray, above a situation we're in, above and beyond a medical condition. Following the path of Jesus lifts us beyond the fray. It doesn't negate the pain of these situations, but it puts us on the right path to healing for ourselves and others. Of course, we know that healing in a medical sense doesn't always occur as we want it. Every life, in this life, comes to an end. But the message of the cross is that even then, healing comes. The experience of Jesus in the garden will be our experience. We will still be lifted. When you look at the cross, remember it means more than the death of Jesus. It is a call to follow his path, even in the face of a world that still largely does not want to listen. And remember, it is a call that reminds us, even if the world should win, even when our time is done, God's final word is life, healing, love. We shall be lifted. Peace.